Welcome back to part 2 of our tour around Adobe Photoshop. Now, before we get going on this, I want to remind you how complicated and dense Photoshop is, and that you're not going to get everything all at once. You're going to have a lot of missteps, you're going to have a lot of frustrations, and just as if you were taking a tour of the Winchester Mystery House, you may fall through some crazy windows or run up against some stairways that end at walls. If you're not familiar, it's this crazy house that a woman built on for years and years and years in the belief that it would keep her alive. So if you've been, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't, you should go. Anyway, Photoshop was originally a very simple farmhouse when it first came out. It just had a few things in it. Well, over the years, a lot of different people have built onto Photoshop and taken it off into a million different directions. Hundreds of rooms, hundreds of bathrooms, passageways, all sorts of areas. And like the Winchester Mystery House, since there's a lot of rooms that repeat themselves, in Photoshop there are a lot of different ways to do the same thing, and none of them are necessarily the best. So it can get overwhelming. There is not a clear pathway. I'm your guide. I will try to keep you from serious danger, and I'll come and find you if you go off exploring and try to help you understand some of the secret passageways. Okay, well, let's get back to this. This is the pygmy nuthatches again, and that I've been using, and I'm just going to show you one little quick trick. I want to make these pygmy nuthatches a little bit bigger. I can do this in a few ways, but one of the easiest ways is just to do Command 0, that's Control 0 on a Mac, and that just fills up the frame with it. I'm still in this whole frame menu so that we're not looking at anything behind. So there we go. Now over to the left of it, you will see the toolbar. And if the toolbar is not there, remember, and notice you can move it around. If the toolbar is not there, remember that you can go up here to Window and pull it up. Now here's another cool thing about the toolbar. You can actually change the configuration, and I like this. Now the tools are, as if you were a woodworker, these tools are your hammer, your nail, your measurements, all the things that you actually literally take like in your hand and hammer away at the Photoshop image. So think of them like that. Now there are lots and lots and lots of options, and this is another Winchester Mystery House. There's a tool, and then there's choices of the tools, and then there's choices of the choices of the tools. So it keeps on going in. I'm going to get over there in a second. I want to also show you the panels that we're going to be looking at. And the panels, right now I have it very, very simplified, but the panels are where we actually look at the image and we look at the structure of the image and what's going on. Up here, and we'll talk about this in conjunction with the tools, this is the tool menu bar, or the tool choice bar, and it's going to give you even more options. Okay, let's see if we can get going. So let's start with the toolbar and just work our way through. Each of these tools, one thing that's nice, you can turn these off later, but I recommend you leave them on. As you hover over them, it's going to tell you not just what kind of tool it is, it'll give you a little indication of what it can do, but it also gives you the shortcut. So if you want to just get to the Move tool without going up here and clicking, you could just hit V. And notice that I did that, you couldn't see it, but it grabbed that tool. The Move tool is really useful. I'm going to go ahead and add a layer here. Now don't worry about how I did it right now. We'll get into that layer later. I have to add a second layer. We can't move the original right now because it's locked, but if I have a second layer and I just put the Move tool on it, you'll see I can move it around. There's two layers, one is moving and one is staying put. I'm going to go ahead and put that back. Those pink lines tell me that I got it back in the right spot. I docked it up, and we'll move on to some of these other tools. So with all of these tools, this is the lasso tool, and the shortcut is L. With almost all of these tools, though, you're going to find that there is going to be what we call a flyout menu. You click on this, and it flies the menu out. There is a way to pull those down so they all show, but it's more compact with this. You'll get used to that. So we have lasso, polygonal lasso, magnetic lasso. I'm not going to go into these now, but you can play with them. And these are all ways that we can select parts of an image, and whatever is selected, with these are what we call marching ants, we can actually change or do things. I'm going to show you that in the third video. Right now I'm going to deselect, that's Command D, and move on and show you a few more tools. This is the crop tool, just like the others. It's got a lot of different options. We're not going to get into slice because this gets into a very different territory, but we will cover the perspective crop tool. And this is exactly as you would imagine. It just gives you a bar and you can crop it, very much like Lightroom. Now, remember, Lightroom is inherently non-destructive. And one of the things about Photoshop is it is not. If you don't watch out and you don't plan ahead, Photoshop will be destructive. So for instance, if I crop this now, it's going to throw away all of these pixels outside of it. Now, Photoshop has gotten a lot more cognizant of this, and it keeps on building in more tools for us to be less destructive. We still have to be very hyper conscious of it, unlike the kind of ease we can do in Lightroom. It's one of the advantages. Up here, we can actually, and this is the tool menu, which gives you different options. You can unclick this, and if I crop it now and I go back, it's going to show me those pixels. And again, we'll get into that more later. I'm going to just press the escape key. I don't want to crop this right now. And we'll keep on going down. Now, notice this. I'm going to come back to this and talk to you about it in more detail in a later video. But as I click into different tools, the options up here change. So we have a tool, we have tool options, and then we also have ways of manipulating the tool up here. So it's very logical, but it's a little bit intense. It's got a lot going on. The eyedropper tool, very handy, a little advanced, we'll get to it. It's got a lot of flyouts. We probably won't get to all of these, but we'll get to a few. The brush tool, very important. We're going to use a lot of the brush tool, but maybe not how you expect us to do it. This allows us to paint on the image or a mask. The history brush, I don't use it a lot, but some people do. You can actually paint in and go back a step. The gradient tool, very cool. I'll get into that later. The dodge and burn tool, ironically, even though these are related to the original analog photography, they're probably the least useful tools in the whole box. The text tool, very complicated. It's just this little tiny thing right here, but you can see how much comes up here. You can do amazing text in Photoshop. You can do almost anything you want with it. We'll cover that briefly later on. It's almost like a whole course in and of itself. Let's see, the rectangle tool, which is another cropping tool. Zoom means you can zoom in, and we can do Command 0 to pull it back out again. This is another cropping tool, the rectangular marquee tool. Object selection, we'll get to this. This is a series of magical tools that we will be working with very soon. Let's see, the framing tool, I don't use that much. Spot healing, these are all our healing tools, and I think someone's already mentioned how they're very eager to get onto these tools because they're so much better than Lightroom's, and that is true, although Lightroom's are improving. The clone stamp, this is a very important tool, one of the earliest tools in Photoshop, and very handy. This is the eraser. Don't use this a lot, but occasionally that comes in handy. The blur tool, I don't use this very much because I go to filters, but it can be handy. And I'm trying to see, yeah, so there's blur, oh, and the smudge tool actually can be kind of cool. So many things here. This is, we'll may or may not deal with pen. This is actually a crossover tool that is more related to graphic design. Kind of a cool tool, but very futzy. Doesn't work quite the way the other tools do. We will see if we can cover a little bit of that later on. Otherwise, you should take graphic design. Same thing with these. The hand tool just brings that hand up that we can get to with the space bar. The edit toolbar, I don't use this very much. Oh, this is just to go in and edit and move the toolbar around. These are your color patches, which I will get into in a little more detail later. Whew. Okay, that was a lot. So up here, there is a logic to this. So for instance, if we're on the brush tool, it will allow us to choose a preset. It'll allow us to choose the blur and the size of a brush. It will allow us to choose modes. It'll allow us to, this we'll get into much later, it allows us to do a normal or what are called blending modes. We can change the opacity. We can change the flow. These are a little bit more advanced than I want to get into right now. Smoothing, all sorts of wonderful different options just for that brush tool. Now these are going to change with every tool you pull up. So I'm not going to be able to go through all of these, but I will begin to show you some commonalities between the tools so that you can start to find your way around. Yeah, it's a lot. That's why we're doing it for the rest of the semester. Okay, so over here we have panels. Now you can lock the panels in and you can have these separately or together. Right now, I actually like this because one of the main things we're going to be doing is working with layers. We're going to be bringing in layers of color, layers of adjustments, layers of other images, and that is kind of the heart of Photoshop, and that is its superpower that Lightroom cannot touch. So we're going to spend a lot of time working with that. But there are other panels here as well. Now you can arrange these in different ways. So this is the channels, and I can bring that out. I can also dock it. Oh, let me see if it'll let me dock. Oh, come on, it's not letting me dock. There we go. I can dock it into this other panel. I have to say, these actually took me an awful long time to get used to. So if you want to just leave it as it is, that's great. So you can see I can dock them up together. We're not going to use paths a lot. We will get to adjustments later, and probably not libraries. I'm going to pull up some other ones in a later module to show you some different options that you have. So for right now, layers and channels are handy. We'll probably pull up histories and adjustments. Here, I'll show you how to dock this down here too. Now, the way that it docks, you actually have to, this is where I always get lost. You can have it free floating, but if you dock it, you actually have to change the scale of the other panel. Come on. Okay, we'll leave it there for now. Okay, so that is another section of Photoshop. So in the next video, I'm going to go ahead and show you a little bit about how you can mess around in Photoshop just to get started. We're going to be very freeform. I'm going to show you a couple of different tools. I'm going to show you how to bring in a second layer, and I'm going to kind of let you fly on your own and explore the tools and the menus as you will.